Bonjour, welcome to the second video for the Motivation Journal 2025. The design was already done during the first video. Let's start directly with the cover. I want a hard cover for this journal, so I have selected three different kinds of material, which are cardboard from approximately the size of my. The cardboards come from calendars and packing. It's pure recycling here. I take the booklet that I prepared during the first video and compare its size to the cardboard to see how much margin I have on the sides, the top and the bottom. After having checked the three cardboards, I decided to use a calendar one which is more sturdy despite the lack of margins. Calendar is the exact size of my booklet, so I am not sure I will have enough material for the back of the booklet, but I have several spare calendars, so it's not an issue. I cut the covers to the size of the front, back, and back of the booklet in order to have the different size that I need, and then I trace everything on the fabric that I decided to use for the cover. I initially wanted to have a black cover with white embroidery, and at the end when I checked my fabric stash I finally decided to use a very fair cover. I keep a few millimeters gaps between the covers and 2 centimeters on all sides in order to be able to paste the cover on the cardboard later on. It's now time for the embroidery. The wrong side of the cover, I draw what I want to embroider. I do it with mirror writing, meaning that instead of writing from left to right, as a normal person would do, I write from right to left. So on the right side, it will be readable from left to right. Yes, I have the skill. I can write a mirror directly without having to think about it really much. Is it useful? No. Was it a good idea? Absolutely not. I thought it would make things easier, but the truth is that it just made it a lot more complicated because for every stitch I had to check on the wrong side of the fabric to see where to put the needle. So I was spending my whole time turning the fabric upside down, and it took so much longer. It made everything very complicated. In case you do not know how to perform embroidery and you want to try, draw what you want to embroider on the right side of the fabric, the side that you are looking at and should be the cute side. Due to the drawing being on the wrong side and very messy, I did not keep the line straight, so here there are some discrepancies between the stitches of the different letters or sides. I tried to correct this, but it was still not really beautiful to see. I was hoping that using the filling stitch would enable to hide this kind of problem. The filling stitch I used is the one from a very well-known medieval tapestry called the Tapisserie Bayeux, and the stitch itself is called Point de Bayeux. It basically looks like a scar. On the length of the stitch, you have parallel rows of thread, and then transversally, there are some smaller stitches in order to keep the thread in place. Once I have the cover on one side and the booklet on the other, it is time to assemble everything. I am taking the cardboards that I have already on the correct dimension, and I have to place them on the fabric that I decided to use for the cover and that is now embroidered. While the glue is setting, I prepared the sheets of paper that will be pasted on the inside of the covers in order to have it finished, which is pretty beautiful. I selected wrapping paper for gifts that I had on my spare wrapping paper stash, and I trace it to the dimension of my cardboards for the cover, keeping a small margin on the side which will be pasted to the booklet in order to have everything attached together. I only apply glue on the very small part of this cover on the part that will be pasted to my booklet. For the back of the book, I have been using tarlatan, which is a specific fabric with strong weave, but not very tight weaved. It is recommended for book binding, and I found some, so I decided to try with it. But if you don't have tarlatan, any thin cotton fabric should be doing the trick according to the tutorials I have seen online. The glue is only applied to the binding itself because the margins, so the parts on the side, will be glued later on directly to the cover. During the setting of the glue, it was time to take a very long break. The unglued margins will be glued to the cover on both sides. The glue is applied on both layers of the margin, tarlatan and paper included, using an envelope to protect the paper that is beneath. The booklet is placed in order to have this final placement to be pasted to the cover. This step needs to be done really precisely because once everything is pasted together, the journal is finished. Of course, I messed up. The last step of the assembly is to paste the cover page in order to hide the fabric that will be folded onto the cover in order to have a very good finish. Cutting the fabric at the corners enables to have a tidy fold afterwards. This tab looks really easy, but there is actually a very tough part, which is trying to remove all the wrinkles. I found this paper in my paper stash, and I was very disappointed to not have seen it earlier because the first one that I have been using for the cover that is attached to the booklet is not as beautiful. The clue is that it is time to add all the motivational content inside. The edge of the sheets is very damaged because I tried to cut them all to the same length. An X-Acto knife. It's not a problem because afterward I decided to create tabs, so I had to cut everything again. The initial plan for the month was to use calligraphy, as we can see some in the medieval books, like this in capital N, which have really intricate details, or something a little more simple, like the ones we can see on this page. But it would have taken a lot of time, and I wasn't really eager to spend so much time. And maybe this will be done later on a specific project on calligraphy. Instead, I decided to go for a vibe which looked quite simple but so heavy, like the crown of the King Clovis of the Franks or the one of St. Louis, I think. So it's a lot more simple to draw, but it still has some kind of precious vibe to it because it's really enjeweled. There were a few incidents during the creation of the tab, nothing that tape couldn't solve. All the tabs have been covered in tape in order to make them more resistant. The end result is quite nice despite some issues like the lack of alignment between the covers. I regret the fact that the sheets are not the same on the front and the end. The other project was really fun. I was actually surprised to enjoy so much the bookbinding part, despite the fact that I had a few issues and I made it overly complicated. Every time I'm trying to draw something cute, it ends up looking so depressing. I should have trained for the embroidery part of the cover because I'm very disappointed with the results. I will be definitely trying some embroidery projects to see if I can better myself and if I actually like it. It was actually very fun to learn some new skills and then to try to build something from scratch for myself. So I was completely free to create it, to change it. I felt perfectly okay with cutting the pages and having some weird design on some of the pages because of I did it personally. I know now that I am able to create again this kind of journals. And I hope that the next one will be a lot better than this one. I had really few brand new furnitures for this project. I bought the paper sheets that I use for the inside and the pencil for the glue. All the rest were materials that I already had at home. And I'm thinking that maybe if I keep continuing this kind of journals, it could be interesting to create everything with materials that I already have, even the paper. Thank you for watching this video and have a nice day.